All right, ladies and gentlemen, before we get to the next session, maritime transport systems, kindly let me have the next panel of judges.
Thank you. Mesdames et messieurs,
Ladies and gentlemen, we will call the jury for the next pitching session. I will first start with Susan Wanjika from GIZ. Susan from GIZ. Then
is the second member of the jury.
ASEC has a representative in the jury.
And Joy Indekwa from Nature Finance is the third member of the jury. Ladies and gentlemen, please, let's join our hands together. We have a 100% female jury for this session. So we now have to call this entrepreneur coming from Togo to introduce this session on maritime transport. Let's welcome Samdon Wilfried from Togo.
Bonjour à tous et à toutes.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Samdom Wilfried. I am the founder of EasyChain Togo. EasyChain is an innovative solution that works on maritime logistics. We have advanced digital solutions and ecological navi collection solutions to help in container transport in West and Central Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, maritime logistics sector in West Africa has many challenges. Ports are often saturated, which considerably slows down operations. It is really difficult to transport containers from one port to another because there are no efficient liaisons between ports in the West African region. The current port infrastructure also prohibits large ships from docking, which causes significant losses that can go to 350,000 USD per day. Now, faced with this challenge, we are proposing an innovative solutions that is called Feed the Vessel. It's an innovative data collection solutions that will link Togo, Cape Verde, and other ports in the region. Then this digital platform will optimize logistical operations and to follow maritime shipping commodities in real time. Now, the potential maritime logistics sector, it is estimated to be a market of $2 billion. It is a growing market. It can help efficient and sustainable transport of goods and services in the region. Our go-to-market solution is based on direct partnerships with ports and maritime firms. We're also going to do a digital and organic marketing campaign for countries in the West and Central African region. We've had significant progress. We took $70,000 last year in funding to develop our mobile application. We are also being accepted in the MSE project that has been developed by the AU Development Agency. We would like to work with port authorities for pilot projects, first with the San Pedro port in Cote d'Ivoire and the Lome port in Togo. EasyChain has also been accepted in the Soft Lending Africa Connect program, which will give us funding for research and development of our project in Marseille, where we will work with other maritime experts in this field. We are aware of current competitors, but we work in a different ecosystem. We have Alpha Logistics in Tanzania that is concentrated in East Africa. You have Unifida from Middle East, and then you have another that is based in Asia. We are the first that is offering a ship collector and Navi collector system in West and Central Africa using innovative technologies and integrated solutions, working with maritime companies and the ports in the region. In terms of financial projections, we looking at a 25% annual growth curve and 60,000 containers handled per year. And we are looking at $595,000, which will enable us to improve our digital platform and to get our first clients and improve our position in the market, improve our logistics efficacy in West and Central Africa, and also reduce our carbon footprint.
Impatient de collaborer avec vous pour transformer le paysage de la logistique maritime en Afrique. Merci. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would have two questions for you. One on the cost side of things. Have you done any projections using the current situation and with your upcoming in? What are the projected cost reductions, and how does this then get down to the final consumer?
Okay. Shall I answer in English and in French and you get the translation? Okay, right now we did some research because when we started ECGen, we're offering freight forwarding services to our customers in Togo. And we started operations since 2020. The problem was that it was easier, for example, for us to book containers from Europe to Africa, but very difficult, for example, to find a line along the West Africa coast. So it was the first remark that we did. And when we realized that, we approached the different shipping lines in the region to ask about potential collaboration. So what we'll do right now is like last mile delivery for vessel. That means that when, for example, larger vessel will come in Lome, because Lome is a transshipment harbor, and it's one of the only transshipment harbor in deep sea along the West Africa coast. So Lome port welcomes larger vessels. But this vessel, for example, cannot serve smaller ports along the West Africa coast. So what we'll do, for example, for the shipping lines, is to take these containers and then dispatch it along the coast. And our revenue model is very simple. It's based on container transportation, and we'll fix 500 per container. And then the other revenue stream will be with subscription, because we already developed a digital platform that will be connected to the existing system of the shipping lines and the different ports of the region. And these shipping lines and ports will also subscribe to use also the platform. And the third revenue stream will be added values, because as we're offering freight forwarding service to our customers, we can offer them, for example, custom clearance or other values for the service.
Thank you so much. And maybe just to follow up on that one, the issue of empty container repositioning, is it something that you're taking into account? How does it come into your production or the value chain?
Yeah, for sure. Because last year, as I was saying, we've been accepted in a program called MSME Odanipat, and we work with the African Union for the Abidjan-Lagos corridor. It's a big project running by the African Union. And when we discuss with them, they connected us directly with different ports authorities, like the port of Lome in Togo and the port of San Pedro in Cote d'Ivoire, because San Pedro is the port where they export cocoa, because Cote d'Ivoire is the first producer of cocoa. And when we discussed with the port authorities, they told us that there are a lot of containers that stayed in the port and struggled the operation. So for us, it will be to get this information directly on our platform, because our platform will be connected with the port system, and then we'll get exactly the number of containers that we have to pick in every port and transport or move from port to port along the West Coast.
All right, thank you so much. I'll also have two questions, but I think you could start us with what is the impact that you're creating so far, what you've seen, and also how inclusive is your team? What does your team structure look like?
Okay, right now we notice that more than 90% of companies in Africa, not only in Togo, are small and medium enterprises. And for us, it was very difficult, for example, to transport the goods produced by some small businesses in Togo from, for example, Togo to Cote d'Ivoire. And I have to mention, for example, that Togo and Cote d'Ivoire is just 1 hour apart by air, but you get no connectivity by sea between these two countries. And it's the same problem all along the West Coast and in Central Africa. For us, the impact is really to empower the small businesses by offering them tailored logistic solution to transport their goods from an African country to another one. The second one will be about carbon reduction, because right now we plan to start our operation with a decarbonated vessel. And we already have a letter of intent with a shipper based in Europe to use an electric vessel or a vessel that will be guided by winds. And that's why we're going to Marseille in France to develop the research and development. About the team right now, we are 12 people. Me have more than 10 years experience in logistics. I work in maritime company, in airline. I was cargo manager for an airline called Askai Airlines in Togo. And I also built, in 2016, a Willy Vassal company in Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire, specialized in the distribution of type of salt, chemical products, and agricultural products. And my co-founder, Eman Elbaz, has more than 15 years experience in software development, and he was the one in charge of the digital application. And we're surrounded by maritime experts, and we plan also to recruit more people in our team.
Hello? Hello? Yes, I just have one question. So you talk about the digital platform, which helps to mitigate on the carbon emission, right? But is there also another competitor doing the same thing? And what differentiates you from the others?
Okay, right now in West and Central Africa, we don't have direct competitors. The competitor that we have is based in East Africa, in Tanzania. It's called Alpha Logistic, but they serve mainly East Africa coast. Another competitor is Unifeeder. They are based in Middle East, in Dubai, and they serve Middle East and the East Coast. East Plus feeders that are specialized in feeder vessel, they operate mainly in Asia. So we are the only one at the moment in West and Central Africa that will be able to offer a feeder service specifically designed for the region. Thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup.
So thank you very much. So when women leave the floor, we thank them for the work you are doing. And so the first entrepreneur from Ivory Coast who is going to give energy to the room, Richard Seche, so thank you. We can clap for him.
So my name is Richard Seshi. I'm the founder of Cool Lion Energies. Do you know that in my country, Cote d'Ivoire, up to 50% of the fish catch by artisanal fishermen can actually end up as food spoilage. And this is essentially due to poor refrigeration and storage facilities offered to them. So my company builds solar-powered refrigerated containers that are made available for the efficient and effective preservation and distribution of fisheries products, among others. Our containerized units have interesting features. So, of course, they're powered by clean energy. They can also be adapted into several cold compartments. And we're also looking at affordability since we're offering a payment layaway model. And this is also enabled by the fact that the containers come with a remote lockdown system to the doors, and then the ability for the cooperatives to be able to make micropayments through mobile money. In terms of the market size today, this is a $200 million total addressable market in Cote d'Ivoire. There was an actual study that was realized by the African Union Development Agency that stated that Cote d'Ivoire can actually see over 6,000 refrigerated units being installed and benefiting different smallholders. Today, we have installed so far 4 solar-powered refrigerated units that are serving different actors. And we've worked with organizations including the UN International Labour Organization, the National Warehousing Authority, the Multiple Foundation, and others. I'm standing here in front of you today because we're looking to raise 500,000 US dollars. We looking at this amount because we'd like to grow our revenue from 309,000 USD that we did last year to 819,000 USD. So we want to increase our revenue over the next 2 years, 2.5x. We believe this is achievable because since the company has been around for the last 3 years, we've actually grown our revenue sevenfold from 43,000 USD in 2019 to $309,000 last year. So please join me in transforming the landscape for small-scale fishers in my country, and I'm looking forward to benefiting from your support. Thank you so much.
I'm happy to kick off. I have two questions. One, how can the coolers, with one single charge, how long does it take to maintain the temperature? And then what's the lifespan? And when you think about maintenance cost, what does that mean in terms of the numbers? And have you factored that then into the final profitability model that you are looking at? And within the 2 years, what does it mean in terms of if we give you money, for instance, hypothetically, breaking even, what does that look like?
Okay, thank you. So basically, the refrigerator unit, the installation, you actually can provide autonomous energy by actually having battery storage. They can go up to from 24 hours up to 72 hours. So from a day to 3 days, depending on what the customers want and how much is willing to spend in terms of batteries storage. In terms of the lifespan of the containerized unit, traditionally solar panels, sandwich panels, and everything, you can have a unit last as long as 15 years. So it's really a long-term investment that's beneficial for them. In the exception of batteries that has to be replaced. Traditionally, if they use well, every 4 to 5 years, they can be replaced. But it's really something. Now, in terms of maintenance, it's minimal. Traditionally, you have to clean the solar panels at regular intervals. And then we also do some preventive maintenance. So what we do is that if we have a cooperative as a partner, we're able to offer a 1-year service agreement in terms of maintenance for free. And then afterwards, we charge them.
All right. So what have been the factors that have caused you to grow in the last 3 years, 7x? One, and so because I can see you're ready to scale, and so those factors, how are they going to inform 2.5x, where to invest?
Yeah, thank you. I think what has allowed us to grow from when we started really way back in 2019 as a very tiny company, I think it's also more to the fact that we're able to raise the support of very strong believers in what we're trying to do. We benefited, from some financial support, which allowed us to actually offer sweet deals to cooperatives in terms of making available these units to them. So we're confident that now we're not only looking traditionally at only grants funding, we feel that we want to also, look now at least debt, and then, use this money to be able to grow. And like I mentioned, 2.5x for us is something very achievable because in the pipeline we've spoken with dozens of cooperatives, and they're really enthused about what we're building in Cote d'Ivoire currently.
Quick follow-up. What's your market size?
The total addressable market is $200 million. So up to 6,000 units around that, because we were a winner of the African Union Development Agency small-scale infrastructure competition. So they did a very extensive study around the cold chain sector in Cote d'Ivoire. So from there, they actually told us that we have up to 6,000 refrigerator units that could benefit not only the fishery sector, but also the agricultural sectors, because those are twin sectors that really need to prevent food spoilage.
So I have a question on the number of units you sold. You said 6,000, right?
Yes, the capacity to install in Cote d'Ivoire.
But how many have you sold?
Not 4, just 4.
You only
Yes.
sold 4. So the request for the 500,000 USD, how are you going to break it down into the different things that you're looking towards building that capital base or market share?
Yeah, so the $500,000 is going to be essentially split. 73% is going to go into capital expenses, so capex costs, and then the remaining is going to go into opex, basically, cost, operational expense, salaries, market, commercial team, and so forth and so forth. With 500,000 USD, we believe we have enough ammunition to be able to deploy between an additional 12 to 15 units to be able to put them to the market on the market.
And when do you think you'll be able to break even? In which year?
Sorry?
Which year do you think you might be able to break even?
Technically, we already break even because from the financial support we benefited, we've not had any negative financial year so far. But to give an order, traditionally, I would say if we have, for example, to look at the container size, for example, traditionally what we do is that we will use at the cost and add maybe plus 30% to it to be able to make sure that we cover everything and have a small margin on that. Thank you so much.
So thank you very much for this presentation. Thank you, Charles, for this presentation. So, ladies and gentlemen, you remember that the votes are being done in Slido, and so you have the QR code and also the number that you can see in front of you, and so you can actually use hashtag for the social media. And so the next presenter, I would like to call an entrepreneur who does not come from West Africa, but
Kabia Elo is from West Africa. Please upload for our next picture.
Well, according to the International Maritime Organization, over 3 billion tons of ballast water is being carried around the world during their various journeys. And as 80% of the world's global trade is carried out through the seas, it means without ballast water, the world's economy itself would be in jeopardy. So what is ballast water? Ballast water is the water carried in by vessels before their journeys. It sits at the bottom of the vessels, and it's what makes the ships stable during the various journeys. They intake ballast water before their journeys, and they discharge it when they reach their destination ports. So what the IMO is looking at is the invasive aquatic species taken into the vessels and dumped at the discharge ports. They gave a mandate, and they made sure every port and member country manages their ballast water by the year 2024. Today we're 2 months away from the deadline, and we have more than 20,000 vessels unequipped. We have more than 30 African coastal cities, ports without these facilities, and we are just 2 months away. That's where we step in. My name is Shamsuddin Kabir Bello, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Isashi Investments Limited and founder of the RuaGuard Mobile Ballast Water Management System. RUA stands for water in the native Hausa language, and what the system does is we're buying an off-the-shelf, already existent in the market, mobile ballast water management system from Europe. We're putting it on top a ferry-like vessel, and we're fabricating an onboard lab. So what the system does is, when a vessel arrives at port, it drives up to the vessel, it connects to the inlet of the vessel, and makes sure the ballast water released goes through our system before it is discharged into the water. It uses a normal, it's a UV ray technology, and it costs about $2.1 million US. So I'm here today asking for $3 million US in equity stake financing to enable us get the equipment, get the ferry-like vessel, and then use about 5%, about $150,000 US as operating expenses. From our projections, we are currently at the piloting stage, pre-piloting stage, and from our projections, we're looking at just a 3% market capture, which means, okay, for context, the Nigerian ports receive 1,850 vessels in just 3 months. So with a market capture of 3%, we're projecting a 72% return on investment with a break-even period of less than 3 years and annual profit afterwards of about $2.7 million US. We have a great management team, small but vastly experienced. We've worked for the European Union for 2 major transportation and logistics services in Nigeria, the EU SIGN and the EU NDSP, Niger Delta Support Program. And we're looking to expand and start and run the pilot. Thank you very much, and I hope you find our project as worthy of your investments as we do. Thank you.
Okay, if I did catch you right, you mentioned you are buying an off-the-shelf system. In terms of autonomy for you as a company, what does this mean? And then also on the expense side of things, what does it mean in the long term? Is it something that you have a very high ROI, which is very good? Have you taken all that into consideration? And a very touchy issue is on data. Once you have that off-the-shelf system or architecture, have you done all the necessary assessments to make sure that you'll be able to have data integrity and data, for lack of a better word, independence? How are you using this data? What's your plan once you do that?
Okay, for the question of autonomy, as I mentioned, we're running a pilot. We're in a very complex and oligopoly, which is a very capital-intensive project. So for now, we're taking the off-the-shelf product because we're trying to test our model. So we're taking in, it's on a full scale, it's a $40 million US project. So we can't go all in on that at the inception. So we're taking an off-the-shelf to make sure we test our model, and then we're working in collaboration. Fortunately, I come from the town where the Water Research Institute is based, so we're working with side by side with the institute to make sure we develop a local alternative, which will definitely be cheaper. But at the moment, we're trying to make sure all the ports are in compliance with the regulatory law in place, and then banking on the market. So side by side, we'll be running a sort of R&D with the NWRI. It's called the National Water Research Institute in Kaduna. And fortunately, we hope to come up with a better solution afterwards.
I wanted to follow up on that one, because you are in the pre-pilot stage. Have you been able to come up with a prototype or some sort just to show how the UV technology be working, and then also looking at the effects as well, the negative effects? Have you also been able to map those out and the different risks, and how will you mitigate them?
Sorry, can you take that?
So the first one is, have you been able to come up with a prototype, like a small version of how the ship would work?
I think there was supposed to be, we've done the modeling already. And so, the key elements of our product, we're more of a service than a product. So the key elements are, we're putting together different equipments onto one platform. So it's quite easy, I may say, for the prototyping, because we're taking the daemon, which is the key element of the product, and then we're putting it on a ferry. So we've done the prototype, and I think it's supposed to have been showcased. And it's basically just putting 3 major components into one platform.
So you're able to consider shipping companies or other corporates that could actually buy that service instead of you building it out? Maybe you can share why.
Okay, why we're actually looking at the services, because our target market is made up of a segment of vessels that are almost obsolete. So they have a lifespan, the remaining lifespan is very short. They can't afford a $4-5 million onboard facility. So they would rather just take a service, pay a $40,000 per year for the next 5 years remaining in the lifespan of the vessel, and then save themselves $3 or $3.5 million at the end of the day. And significantly, if we're taking a realistic 3% market share, which means out of 1,800 vessels calling up to the port, we are talking of just 60 vessels. I think we're being very conservative with that, and we're being very practical.
So how long have you, how long is this R&D phase projected to be? One, because you're within pre-piloting, and then who are the other competitors already in the market, and what is your unique service that you're coming in with, and especially now that you're trying out also a model. Being that you want money to buy hardware, is there available technical skills for this also within your market?
Okay, for the R&D question, the first question, we don't actually have that much time on our hands, but we've started. We've not gone too far with it, but right now what we're trying to address is the time limit and then the market opportunity. You have 25,000 vessels that need this service, and we're 2 months down to the deadline. Yeah, it may be postponed, but we don't have that much time. So that's why we're going for the off-the-shelf facility. For the R&D, we can't say how much it would take because we're working with a technical partner. It's an institute. We would prefer that it comes as soon as possible because it would also cut down our costs when scaling up and then offer something that is quite more efficient at that lower cost. Then you're talking of competitors. We have one major competitor which is in the industry, but on a different segment, I would say. The competitor is an authorized dealer of a ballast water management system for a European brand, but he offers the product for sale and not the service. And as I said, we have a segment we're looking at right now for the piloting. Sorry. So we just have one competitor. And then scaling up, I think I should add this, we have 30 African coastal countries that are still yet to comply. So right now we're looking at the coastal Gulf of Guinea, and then scaling up probably in other African countries.
Wonderful. Thank you, Shamsuddin. I hope it's been clear enough. We are almost done with this maritime transport ecosystem pitches. Nous allons embrayer sur la.
Now we are going to the next presentation, and we ask you to continue to vote on Slido. We have 400 people who have voted so far, and we believe that the BlueInvest family is much bigger. Please encourage those around you to continue to vote because the best pitchers need to be acknowledged. I would like to give the floor right now to the next pitcher, who I've already seen their eyes are starting to glow. Over to you.
And imagine that you're holding your favorite beverage. Mine's a gin and tonic. You're on a boat and you're slowly cruising down a waterway. And as you look to your left, you see a herd of elephants begin to cross in front of you. And as you watch them, you get to experience that beautiful African sunset. This is where I first came across Ali Boats, a brand that I then saw on many of my Botswana safari adventures. It wasn't until our paths crossed during the COVID pandemic that I got to learn that these remarkable boats are made right in the heart of the Kalahari Desert. My name is Michaela, and I'm an advisor to the directors and shareholders of Ali Boats. Did you know that the Okavango Delta is the largest inland delta system in the world? It is also a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and every year its annual flood supports a variety of farming activities. And because of its rich biodiversity in the desert, it attracts researchers and conservationists from around the world. It is also a renowned safari destination. And because of this, it provides jobs to many of those in remote communities. The town of Maun is located just 30 kilometers from the border of the Okavango Delta. This is also the home of Ali Boats. I personally am exceptionally proud of this business, not only because it contributes to the manufacturing sector in Botswana, which is severely limited, but also for the positive impact it has on the lives of the people and the communities that we are so passionate about supporting. We started out in 1986, originally to make boats for the tourism industry. We are now Africa's leading aluminium boat builders. 50% of our production is exported annually. The main destinations are Zambia, Zimbabwe, South Africa, and Namibia. But we've also exported to Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, the United Kingdom. Our clients now include private businesses, private individuals, local and foreign government bodies, as well as NGOs. We know, though, that water levels in Southern Africa are changing, weather patterns are changing, and this means that we need to be very deliberate and proactive about our expansion opportunities. East Africa has vast water systems, and this makes me very excited about our potential expansion opportunities. As we look to expanding, we will now start looking at these regions. Aluminium boats are highly popular in Southern Africa because they're durable and they suit a variety of water conditions. But for those of you who are based in East Africa, I'm sure you're used to seeing fiberglass boats. We know that they are favored in this market, but we know with a good go-to-market strategy that aluminium boats will also have a firm place right here. Aluminium is lighter, it's more durable, and 98% of aluminium ever produced worldwide is recycled in some form or another today. We think that this makes our product exciting and exceptional, and because of this, we will also look at leasing opportunities for boats to support research projects as well as other projects. Our business was severely impacted by the COVID pandemic because of our exposure to the tourism industry. But despite this, our revenue numbers are 16% up from pre-pandemic levels. We have a gross margin of around 40%. Our EBITDA margin is at 7.5%, and we're turning over $2.5 million annually. The only problem we have is our production facilities at around 80%. So, what are we looking for? We would love to speak to strategic partners, government agencies, local investment agencies, who would look to partner with us so that we can now commence our commercial due diligence on this market. Digby and I would love to have a conversation with anyone who's interested in supporting us on this. We believe that this is an exciting opportunity, not just for us, but to also involve women in the manufacturing sector. Thank you. And I'm joined by an all-woman panel. How great.
Go again. I would like to wonder, first of all, congratulations. I love when you tied up the notes and you said you'd like to use these boards to support further research, which is excellent. But I want to take you back on the production side of things. How is the production done? Are there any impacts on the environment? How do you mitigate that? How does it impact communities beyond giving them jobs?
Yes.
When you look at it in the long term? How are you making sure that if there are any risks to the environment, to the people, you're trying to mitigate that?
Yeah, very, very good question. So there's a few aspects. Firstly, we produce aluminium boats in Botswana, and our production facility is mostly supported by those who are from an underskilled background. So we train them, we provide them artisanal training. Digby, who's with me, our production manager, trains them, and a lot of them are uneducated or have a very limited level of education. And in Botswana, artisanal capabilities are very limited. And we've realized that women have a very soft touch. And when you're looking at welding, aluminium is actually quite a soft metal. So what we've now started to do is to introduce more women into our manufacturing system so that they, obviously that they can start providing for themselves. Unemployment is also high in Botswana. And where we're currently based, we're actually right up in the north of Botswana. We're not even in the capital city. We're in a very remote area. It's about 1,000 kilometers from the remote town, from Gaborone. And this is where unemployment is quite high as well. So yeah, that's how we would like to obviously capacity build. In terms of the environment, we know that electric motors will be the way of the future, rather than fuel-powered motors. And so we've started developing products. We actually worked with the government of Botswana on a project to develop an e-boat this last year. It's great, and we look forward to that more development. But the only issue that we've got is that there's limited supply of electric motors on the market. They're not very well tested, and they're also very expensive. But we know that this is the future. So we're working with a lot of the manufacturers in the market so that we can help them and provide them feedback on these engines so that we can now start moving towards e-boats. Our boats also support communities with ambulances, patrol boats, and access to communities.
You've answered a lot of questions.
Sorry.
For me so far. But like just to shed more light, what is your team composition? And also, what does your business model look like? Because it's, capital intensive on the hardware. So again.
Yeah. So we have a very experienced team in the management and senior team. I'm the youngest. We've got the founders. There's 4 shareholders and 4 directors, and they are exceptionally talented. We've got a mix of finance skills. We've got a finance director who is one of the shareholders of the business. We've got a managing director and the production director who's with me, Digby. They are the technical side of the business. These men can build a boat for any purpose. And then we've also got a gentleman who specializes in procurement because we have to procure a lot of items from various parts of the world. So we bring aluminium in from South Africa, we bring parts in from the US, we bring parts in from the Far East. So yeah, we've got an exceptionally qualified management team, but we've also got a production force of around 60 people at the moment.
So just going back on the question she had asked about the business model,
yeah.
How are you actually making money? What are the different ways you
do it? Yeah. So essentially, most of our boats are customized. So we've got such a good brand name in the market that people actually search us out. And that's why I was saying we actually need to be more proactive about our expansion. And it's one of the discussions that I've always had with the shareholders when I came in initially to advise them is we got a little bit complacent because we're used to the market coming to us. We've always had a good business. And now what I'm saying to them is we now need to look at start expanding. And so our business model essentially is people will come to us and they will come to us with an idea that one of the production managers will sit with them, they'll design their boat, or we'll see tenders, for example. We've sent boats right up into Kenya. There's one of our landing crafts in Lamu at the moment. But yes, most of our boats are customized, made for a specific purpose. But we've also got a range of standard boats that people can order.
And then looking at the negative impact on the environment. So if you're looking at the water bodies, you're using fuel, which of course has effects, and then also the noise vibration. So what are you trying to do to mitigate that, just to save the biodiversity in the ocean? Yeah,
it's a very, very good point that you've got. As we work towards more electric motors, obviously this will have an impact, and this will start improving that impact that's there. Unfortunately, at the moment, there's not too much that we can do other than try and support that initiative. But the one thing with aluminium is because it's so light and you have more usable space on a boat, you need smaller engine sizes. So if we're looking at a comparison in the East African market, an equivalent fiberglass boat would need a much larger engine size, which has more impact on the environment. So as we start bringing in more aluminium boats, you'll start seeing, it won't be 100%, but you'll start seeing a much lesser degree of fuel, I guess, going in. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you, Michaela. Thank you so much for that wonderful pitch. Very exciting. All right. So As we move to the last picture in this session, kindly remember Slido. Please vote. We have very little votes since morning, 350. Want to see more activity on this? Kindly vote. Hashtag 2408879 for your best picture. It's open 10 minutes after the last pitch. Thank you so much. And now to our last picture in this session from Cameroon. Kingsley Kuala, still fresh. Thank you.
I've lost my business. These were the words of 60-year-old Amit I met in Berlin a few years ago. Amit is an avocado farmer based here in Kenya. He shipped 20 containers of Hass variety avocados to Europe, and within a mere 2 weeks after arrival, they all went bad. Hamid lost $450,000. He didn't have insurance because products like his are considered too risky. The shipping line that was responsible for the loss rejected payment because Hamid could not prove the condition of his product prior to shipment. Unfortunately, this is not unique to Hamid, nor is it to avocado farmers. The World Food Programme estimates that 990 billion worth of food is wasted every single year. African food producers are severely impacted by this because of low visibility into the condition of their products along the supply chain. And this leads to severe underinsurance, to no insurance at all. So in the event of damage to cargo in transit, Hamid and others like him do not only lose time, but they lose money. To help solve this problem, we have designed and built a digital cargo risk management platform to enable food producers across the continent to remotely collect, analyze, and share objective evidence with their peers, their insurers, as well as port authorities. So with the use of our web-based mobile application, all they have to do is aim, click, and claim. Over the past few years, we have helped repatriate over $11 million back to the continent from shipping lines that have caused damage to meats, fish, fruits, and food, either produced by the continent or for the continent. And with the advent of the Africa Free Trade Continental Area, we have an even bigger opportunity to help protect even more African food producers protect themselves. That is why we are asking you to help connect us to Africa food producers, big or small. We would like to work with port authorities to help fast-track container inspections and with shippers' councils to help drive our rallying call. But if you're not well connected, we'll gladly accept your financial support. So we are raising $1 million to help us digitize even more cargo inspectors, thus creating more jobs, scale our technology, and drive our sales and marketing efforts. So if you're as passionate about sustainability as we are, and as well as helping African food producers protect themselves, then I would like to speak with you. My name is Kingsley, and I am the CEO and founder of Still Fresh, and I am from Cameroon. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that wonderful pitch. You did mention your starting from home in Cameroon. Which regulatory authorities are you dealing with? Because for this platform, especially if you want to go across the region and hopefully even expand across the continent, there has to be a lot of coordination and you need a lot of support and engagement, especially from the public sector, from the governments. So at home, have you had any connections already with the Cameroon authorities, and what's your level of engagement with them?
Thank you very much for the question. So interestingly, we find ourselves in a space which is largely unregulated. And the reason is because in international trade, goods are always going to move from one part of the world to another. Our biggest market today is South Africa, but our team sits in Cameroon. So we are working directly with the exporters, the insurance companies in South Africa, but also in Europe as well. But our main focus is to scale our business across Africa. So we do not get into contact with the regulators because we are unregulated.
Hold that thought. I'll come back
All
to
right,
it.
thank you.
I'll give my colleague and then I'll come back to that aspect of regulation and what that means for your business.
Thank you.
I'm glad you mentioned that. You'll come back to it because I was gonna do the same. But yeah, could you tell us more on the impact that you currently have for your business, and also, I guess, a lot more about your team and how those two relate?
Thank you very much for the question. So let's start with impact. Over the past few years, we have helped repatriate over $11 million back to the continent. And if you were to look at the cost of a container of food, it ranges between $20,000 to $50,000 depending on the type of food or fruit that you're exporting. That represents 220 containers of food that we have saved. Now, with the digital solution that we are building, we realize that a lot of the losses that occur in transit is down to human error. So by using our solution, we significantly reduce the opportunities for human error to occur. The second limb of your question related to our team. So I have over 15 years experience in the industry. I've worked and lived in the UK, in Argentina, South Africa, Germany, and we are currently based in Cameroon, South Africa, and the UK. We have a CTO who is a PhD from the German automotive industry. Our team consists of lawyers who are experts in the maritime industry. We've got software engineers, designers, and sales and go-to-market experts. Altogether, we are 11 of us. Thank you.
And maybe just a quick one before my colleague comes in. What's your pricing model?
Sorry?
What's your pricing model?
Thank you very much for the question. So we've got multiple sources of income. So the first one is a contingency-based service delivery model, whereby if there's damage to cargo in transit, we would help the exporter to recover the amount of money. And if we are successful, then we get a 15 to 20% contingency fee on top of that. Then we have layered on that our technology that enables them to remotely inspect their cargo at different points along the supply chain. And this is a SaaS business model, which is 500 euros for 50 container inspections per month. Thank you.
Thank you. For me, I had a question on the partnerships that you have. So who are your core partners that you're working with to ensure that the food exporters are reimbursed on time and also there's access to credit for them?
Thank you very much for the question. So the people that we typically work with, I don't know if they'll call us partners, but we'll normally bring a claim against a shipping line, an airline, a freight forwarder who are responsible for safely transporting the goods. Sometimes they fail to do that, and so we approach them using our technology, but also with the use of emails and other methods to recover the money on behalf of our clients. Now we are building a network of cargo surveyors. These are those that are found across Africa. We want to digitize their businesses, create more jobs within that sector, and help us to collect more data across the continent. We currently have 50 cargo surveyors, but we need a lot more, especially with the advent of the Africa Free Trade Continental Area. There's a lot more opportunity for us to harvest.
A quick follow-up on this. Because you have a digital solution, and so scalability then is ubiquitous, ideally. So then you will come across policies, and I guess that's why also my colleague, as she said, let's put a pin on that. So the framework then, if you could help us understand, what does your model then look like? Are you trying to then scale towards like being an Uber?
Right.
Yeah, how you operate without owning? Or how are you thinking about it?
Sorry, I missed the part about regulation.
If you're to scale across Africa,
Yeah.
you're likely to come across regulation, and you have a digital solution. So you're currently within Cameroon and Southern Africa.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm struggling a little bit to answer that question because right now, I don't see how the regulators are going to regulate us. Because I'll give you an example. You're shipping from Kenya to South Africa, or perhaps you're buying apples from South Africa in Cameroon. So once the cargo gets on board the vessel, it goes to Cameroon and there's loss, right? So today you would either go to a lawyer or you'd appoint a recovery agent in Europe. Now, the regulators have no business in that because it's a personal decision that you've made. So that is where we come in. We are saying that rather than spending many months with a lawyer or with a recovery agent based in Europe, we are training African experts that are able to help you and bring African solutions to these problems. And we sit outside the regulators. So we are neither we are not transporting the goods themselves. We are not offering a financial service unless the regulators on the use of our predictive algorithms. I don't see how they are going to regulate us.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kingsley.
Thank you.
Thank you for the passionate delivery. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, ladies. It's been wonderful having you on stage. And thank you so much for a good audience.